In today's video, I'm going to review these Kinetic CFexpress Type B 512GB cards for my R5. So no matter how many times I say it, there are still a large portion of viewers for these videos that aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you could please go ahead, if you're not already subscribed, and just press subscribe, sign up for the bell, and if everybody could give me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. And if you enjoy learning from me in these videos, you probably would like learning from me at my in-person workshops. Soon I'll be going to Portland, Dallas, Orlando, and Phoenix, and also doing one at my studio in Chicago. So for more information about that, just go to johngress.com/workshops. And also, I have an online learning platform called the Academy with John Gress, and there you'll find exclusive tutorials that are a little bit longer than the ones that I have on YouTube, early access to my YouTube videos, discounts to my in-person workshops, and also what I think is probably most important, and that is access to live critiques and Q&A sessions. So for more information about that, just go to johngress.com/academy. So last year when the R5 came out, thanks to Canon, once again I had to look into purchasing a new type of media. And perhaps like many of you, I got sticker shock at first looking at the sheer cost of the CFexpress Type B cards. And so I started off by buying a SanDisk 128 gig card just to sort of test out the capabilities, because I wasn't really sure if I wanted to shoot 8K RAW with my R5 in the first place. And of course, what I learned sort of through just getting used to using the camera and looking into things was that if I wanted to shoot 4K 10-bit, well, 4K 422 10-bit, that I needed to write that to the CFexpress Type B card. And so I ended up getting a SanDisk 512 gig card when one showed up on eBay that was either used or demo or something like that. And so I've been using that card, or those two cards, for the last 10 or so months, I think. And right about the time that I was interested in maybe trying to shoot 8K RAW again because of a change up in my workflow, Kinetic contacted me and asked me if I'd be interested in trying out their 512 gig cards in order to make a review. And so they sent me a couple of them, and I've been using them for about a month. And now that I'm comfortable with them and comfortable with what they can do, I feel good talking about it at this time. So for those of you still photographers out there, you might want to sit down for just a second, because what I'm going to say is going to be sacrilegious. For still photographers, we like to shoot everything in RAW, or at least most of us do, and then hold on to those RAW files forever just in case we need them. And so over the course of the last 4 or so years since I got the C200, I've been looking at RAW video in much the same way. That I'm going to shoot my footage, I'm going to have this RAW footage, I'm going to store it on a hard drive, and well, as it turns out, I think last year I shot maybe 10 or 15 terabytes of RAW video. And storing it and protecting it is just really a task, and it gets very expensive, and it's not the same sort of issue that you run into with stills, because it's a lot more data and a lot more expensive. And so finally, after listening to a number of YouTubers say that what they were doing was they were shooting a RAW video to the card and then putting it in their computer, opening up Canon RAW Development, and then processing that RAW video from the card to 422 10-bit 4K, and then just never copying that raw data over to their computer. And so I've been doing that for about a month or so now, and I feel perfectly fine with doing it. The difference between shooting stills and just having a JPEG and having this 422 10-bit is that the 422 10-bit has a lot more flexibility than a photo JPEG, but I really don't feel that I need to keep all of that raw data on hand, because most of the time I'm shooting in controlled environments like this one, and that of course makes shooting RAW on the R5 finally something that interests me. And so I've tried out these Kinetic cards for the past 3 or so weeks, I think, and I've shot video. I've used it as a B camera while shooting my YouTube videos. I'm still using my C70 as my main camera, mostly because of the XLR inputs and just sort of my workflow. And I'm finding it to be very useful to have this second camera, which I can turn and cut to. And so I'm really enjoying that. And when I go out and work for clients in the next week or so, I am going to use the R5 shooting RAW and then converting it to C-Log 2. And I think that will give me pretty good quality moving forward. As far as stills go, I've used the Kinetic cards and I see no difference in performance between my SanDisk cards and the Kinetic cards. Of course, while I'm shooting stills and I'm shooting internally in the camera and not tethering, I'm always trying to shoot to two cards. So I'm shooting to the Kinetic card or the SanDisk card and then my SanDisk SD cards. And that way I just always have a backup. But what I found is that the CFexpress Type B cards just transfer the data much faster than the SD cards, or at least the SD cards that I have. And so I'm really enjoying doing that. And over the course of the last 3 weeks using the Kinetic cards, I haven't had any difficulty whatsoever. So I did test out these cards using the Blackmagic speed test software. And what I found was that the Kinetic cards were capable of writing in the low to mid 800s megabytes per second. And the SanDisk cards were capable of writing in the high 800s, of course, when they're peaking. According to the software, the cards check out for writing 4K in a variety of formats and everything is fine. But according to the test, the cards are only capable of writing 4K RAW. I think that's what these things mean down here. And according to the R5 manual, you need a card that's capable of writing 2600 megabytes per second. But that said, I've never had a problem with either the Kinetic cards or the SanDisk cards keeping up with writing 8K RAW video. The only thing that stopped me from shooting is the camera overheating or the batteries dying. And so I don't see any performance issues with the two cards or the two types of cards. Everything is perfectly fine. There is one thing you should be aware of, and that is there is a difference in the warranty. So the SanDisk cards offer a lifetime warranty that is limited to 30 years in some jurisdictions. Not that we'll ever be using these cards that long. Whereas the Kinetic card has a 3-year warranty, and I believe you also can only write the card, you can only write 300 terabytes of data to the card over the course of those 3 years. But I think this is perfectly acceptable, knowing that there is a $200 or $250 difference in the price between the two cards, and also knowing that when the 3 years are up, we probably will be moving on to another type of media that runs even faster thanks to technology progressing. And so, but I just wanted to put that out there because that's one thing I thought you guys should consider. The other thing I wanted to say today is I get asked a lot of the time to review stuff, or if I want stuff in exchange for reviewing it, and I normally say no. And the reason is I won't talk about anything that I don't use personally and don't like. And so when Kinetic reached out to me, I actually called my friend Steve and I said, hey, what's the brand of that cheaper CFexpress Type B card that you just found? And he said it was the Kinetic card. And so I asked him if he had any issues with it, and he said it worked out great for him. And so then I went ahead and responded to Kinetic and said, sure, send me the cards. I'd love to try them out. So, just keep that in mind overall. Thank you guys so much for your time. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.